Okay, here's what we'll be working on today. We're going to be adding the ability for the NPC to strike you. So, let's go ahead and get right into it. Okay, so first off, what we want to do is inside of the anim notifies that the left punch and right punch, we want to get the owner of the mesh comp. So search for the mesh comp that's part of the notify tick variables and get the owner of that and drag that into the damage causer. And we want to do that for the right punch as well. So we're getting the mesh comp, which is a local variable of this, receive notify tick, and we're going to get the owner of the mesh, and we're going to plug that into the damage causer. And the mesh comp is just the mesh that's striking, the punching animation. So let's go into the Sandbox character, select the mesh, and go down to the collision presets, and make sure that the trace responses for the camera is set to block. The trace channel set to camera. So we want to make sure that the trace response is blocking camera so that we can hit our main character, or so that the NPC can hit us. So you could change it to visibility if you'd like and block visibility instead, but I'm going with camera. So inside the NPC, from the damage causer, we want to get class, and from class, we want, or from the return value of get class, we want to search for classes child of. And the parent class, we want to select the NPC Sandbox Character. CBP NPC Sandbox Character. Alright, and we're going to drag the return value of that into a branch. And if it's true, we're not going to do anything. If it's false, then we are going to deal damage. And this is to prevent the NPCs from striking each other. Alright, so in the event notify tick, we had the damage causer, the owner, get plugged into the damage causer. Alright, so in the Sandbox character, we have our punching combo. We're going to copy that punching combo, and we're going to paste that into our NPC character now. And instead of triggering it, let's right click these variables and make sure we create variables on these grayed out variables. We want to create them and make sure that they exist inside of us, inside of this NPC blueprint class. And instead of triggering this off of the left click, the attack, you know, like if we're a player, we'll use a custom event and we'll trigger that when we're close enough to the player to strike them. So right click. Once we got our variables arranged, right click and search for custom event and add custom event. And we can just name this attack custom event. And we want to plug this into the branch that's checking whether or not we're attacking. All right, if you're more interested in this, I have a video that you can check out on how to add punching combinations. All right, so once we have that inside of our event graph, we have a reset combo thing that we just pasted in here. So we want to get a delay from each of these anim montages. These are the hit reaction anim montages at the end of the event, any damage. And we want to delay for the duration of the anim montage, and then at the end we want to reset combo. Okay, and I have a video on this as well, and you can check that out. But if you don't, you can go ahead and just pause the video and take a look at the code here. Okay, so now, still in our NPC character, from the event tick, between the update camera and add movement input, we want to check if we're attacking, and if we are, we don't need to move. That's a mistake. If it's false, we want to connect it. So if it's true, we want to do nothing, and if it's false, we will add movement input. And then we're going to check the distance to the main character here, because if we're close enough to the main character to attack him, we're going to try to do that. Okay, so first, let's go ahead and get distance to. under transformation, and we want to get a reference to self, so type in self and plug that into the target. And then we want to search for player character, get player character, and we're going to plug that into the other actor. All right, and the return value is the distance between these two. So from the return value, we want to check if that's less than or equal to some value. You know, that's, I'm going to put a 100, so less than, equal. I'm going to put 100, and from the return value, we're going to plug it into a branch and connect that to the add movement input. And if our distance is less than that, if that's true, then we're going to reset combo and try to attack with that custom event we just created. Okay, so now we want to make sure that we go into the animation blueprint for our NPC character, and we want to right click inside of the event graph and get the Sandbox Character NPC reference. And now we want to get our save attack notify that we have in our punch, and we want to get our reset combo that we also have in our punches. And from our NPC reference, we want to call the combo save attack custom event that we just pasted into our NPC's graph. And then from our NPC reference, drag off and call the reset combo custom event that we just pasted into the NPC event graph and connect that. Now let's go to our retarget characters folder and duplicate the Sandbox Character Kellen blueprint. And I'm just going to name that to meta bandit underscore BP and move that to an enemies folder. And I'm going to double click on that, and under class settings, I'm going to change that class setting to be the NPC Sandbox Character. And I'm going to go ahead and reparent and ignore that warning. Okay, so in the NPC, at the end of the combo attacks where we add the montages, instead of adding montages here, I'm going to add custom events that call combo attacks, so that in the meta BP that we just created, we can add the anim montages there. That way, you know, if you had different attacks for different types of characters, you could call you're going to call the combo attack there rather than here to add some kind of variety. You know, maybe you had a character that uses a sword attack. You know, we'll call that in sword bandit instead of meta bandit or something like that. Okay, so now that we just created these combo attack custom events, we're going to call them. So combo attack CE1, combo attack CE2, and so on. And we're going to connect them to the set attack, the corresponding set attack index. Okay, so let's go ahead and open Meta Bandit BP back up, and now we want to call these. We want to call the event combo attack CE. So we want to look for the one that has event in the name, because when the event is called in the parent class, it will call it here as well. Okay, so and that's when we'll add the attacking montages. All right, so we just want to get this set up. Go ahead and organize it. Get your montages into the event graph. You know, and so yeah, if you wanted to have like another character that used a sword or something like that, instead of the meta bandit, you would have sword bandit, and then these would all be sword montages. Okay, and then that way you could have two different classes that are using the same combo attack structure in the NPC parent class. Okay. And we'll just finish with uppercut montage. Compile and save. Okay. And here's a better look at that if you want to pause it and look at that if you haven't seen my other video. So now inside of our player character, we want to call the event any damage. And we want to add a new variable and call it hit points. And we'll make it an integer. go ahead and pull out the mesh. And well, first off, compile and say we want to give our hit points a default value. I'll put 100 for now. Okay, now from mesh, drag off of the mesh and search for get anim instance. And from the return value there, we want to check if a montage is playing, if the hit montage is playing. If, you know, if we're already being hit, we don't want to deal damage. At least in my case, I don't, so that's up to you. I'm using the rib hit animation. I'll put that in the description so you can get that yourself if you'd like. Connect that to the branch. Pull out the hit points. And from the damage, we want to truncate the damage to make it an integer. And then hit points, we want to subtract. And we want to pull the return value of the truncate into the subtraction value. So we are, and then we're going to set our hit points to this value. So if our hit points were 100 and the damage was 10, now our hit points are being set to 90. From the hit points, actually let's drag hit points out, and we will check if it's less than or equal to 0, you know, if we're KO'd or not. If we're KO'd, we'll play a KO animation. If we still have health, then we'll play just a normal hit animation. So from the false, let's play a normal hit animation. So we'll search for play anim montage. And I'm going to use the rib hit animation, the one I checked to see if it was playing. And if it was playing, I didn't want to do anything. Okay, so that's the one we're using here, because that's what we're checking for. Oh, sorry, it's okay. So if we have no health left, then we, from the true, we want to do once, because we don't want to do this more than once because we'll be game over. We want to set actor tick enabled to false. Drag off of that. And we want to set input, or set input mode to UI only. And we want to connect it to a player controller, so we want to get player controller and go ahead and plug the return value into the player controller value in the set input mode UI node. And now we want to search for play anim montage, and now we're going to play our KO montage, which I'll put in the description as well. And we're using montages, not animation sequences. And from the return value, we want to subtract 0.3. The return value is the duration of the montage, so we're subtracting 0.3 because that will take us to basically almost to the very end, because I want to pause the animation basically at the very end. But if I don't pause it before the end, it will start to loop. So that's why I want to pause it before the animation ends. And from this node, we want to create a widget. I will put a link in the description or a card in this video so you can go to the video that shows how to create a game over screen. But I'm going to go ahead and call that here. That's where you would want to do that. Or one place you could do it if you like. And here's a better look at all the code. Okay, so one last thing. So the characters, the NPCs will not run into your character. Select the capsule component, go down to collision presets, and where it says pawn, make sure block is set to true. And inside of the NPC character, we want to select the capsule component, go down to collision preset, and where it says pawn, make sure block is set to true. That way the NPCs aren't overlapping with each other. Alright, and I'm just going to add a little flavor in here. After our character gets hit, I'm going to add a punch sound effect. Now, this is a little dirty way to do it because we're not sure that he's always going to be getting punched, but just for the sake of this video, just add a punch sound effect when we get hit. Alright, so let's test it out. Alright, so it's not perfect, but it will work for now. And this is just the basic, you know, way to show you how to do it, just to get your feet wet a little bit, you know, just to help demystify a little bit. And so if you don't want to get interrupted at all during any kind of montage, you could, instead of just checking for the hit reaction montage, you could check if any montage is playing, and then you could just, you know, hit right through. You know, that way, if you're attacking, you're not going to take any damage. All right, so thanks for stopping by. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I will see you next time. Take care.